In this video, I'm going to show you the best way to structure your Facebook ad account for return on ad spend and really good scale. So you can take those small returns, scale them up to big, and grow your business really predictably. So I'm going to show you how we've done this in one ad account, but before I show you that, I'm going to show you how in the same ad account, we've used it in the past 30 days to spend around $82,000. Past 2 months, we spent around 200 grand. And we've used these exact same practices for ourselves. So I'm not just speaking out of experience necessarily doing this for clients, but actually doing this for ourselves and spending this money at scale. So first things first is I'm going to show you the campaigns that I like to set up and how I like to have them structured. This is following what Facebook really likes to optimize for and what it likes to see inside of your actual ad account. So first things first, I'm really going to comprise my ad account structures off of between 2 to 5 different campaigns. The first one is just going to be a general prospecting campaign. So what that looks like is something very general. It's almost just like you're throwing crap against the wall at first to see what works, and you're testing a lot of different things. So that first campaign is going to be prospecting, and you can put kind of whatever product that you're looking to promote. So it's just that first prospecting campaign. From there, within this prospecting campaign, this is going to be a very generalized, broader audience. So I would recommend using Advantage Plus Audience and chucking in a few very simple, very broad interests. So tweak the age range to whatever your target demographic is. And then I'd recommend throwing in a few different interests. So you can chuck in a couple like this. Very simple. And make sure you have a pretty healthy audience size. In the millions is ideal. This is maybe a little bit too broad, but this is fine because for the first audience and for this first campaign, you really want to make sure it's broad. You want to give Facebook the room to breathe. You want to give Facebook the room to actually optimize and find your ideal person. So you're going to start with this broad audience. From there, you're going to actually put in a couple of different creatives, and you're going to do this across a few different ad sets. A lot of people will say to put, between 2 to 3 different ads within one ad set. I don't really like doing that at first because you don't have too much control over the budget. And if you actually want to see what creative works, it's hard to do that when you're spreading it thin. Facebook's just going to pick the budget. So for example, I'm just going to drop in these creatives just so everything looks good. And you'll basically rinse and repeat this 2 more times. So what you'll end up having is something like this. You'll have one campaign, 3 ad sets, 1 ad per ad set. Each ad should have a slightly different creative, a little bit of a different copy, and you're basically just testing the water to see what works and see what sticks here. That's your first campaign. The next campaign you're going to set up is a testing campaign very specifically, where the prospecting is where you're going to chuck in broad initial tests, and you'll eventually get rid of that prospecting campaign, potentially, unless you start scaling up some winners in there. And the next one you're going to do is an actual testing campaign. So this one, how I like to structure it is, we'll just call this one ad asset testing. Next is each ad set should be a very specific test. So you can test audiences in here. Duplicate this a few more times. So you test audiences, you could test creative, you could test copy, you could test placements, and you could even test headlines if you'd like to. So what this will end up looking like is you'll have this one campaign, and beneath that, you're going to be testing lots of different things. Now the key here is, once again, 1 ad per ad set, and the goal of this campaign is just to find winners. Because what you'll do once you find these winners is you'll pull them into a scaling campaign, which I'll go through what that one looks like next. So the next campaign is going to be your winners campaign. Now the purpose of this one is to take any of the winners you're finding in either testing or your prospecting and to dump it inside of here. Now this one is simply just to scale things. So if you'd like to, you could set this up as a CBO or an Advantage campaign budget, where you set the budget to a minimum of $100 a day. And the point of this is you only want to set up a scaling campaign when you actually have proven winners within these other 2 campaigns. So you'll take that daily budget at a minimum to $100 a day, and you're basically just going to start duplicating from these 2 campaigns into this new campaign, which is going to be your scaling one. That's the first scaling campaign. From here, the next winner campaign that you can set up is not a CBO, but by combining your winners into the same ad sets. So what that'll look like is like this, where you'll duplicate this, and what you'll do is you'll have at most 5 ads within one ad set. So this one will have your winners scaled, and I like to call these horizontal scaling because we're not necessarily scaling just by increasing the budget a ton, we're scaling horizontally by just adding more ad sets in. And so what you'll have is you'll have your winner audience, and then you'll have at least your 4 winning ads within each one of these. Whoops. And so that'll end up looking something like this. Now, starting budget for this one is very similar. I'd recommend anywhere from $60 to $100 a day here. And the reason why is because you want to give that budget enough breadth to make sure that it's spending evenly, or at least giving it enough juice to go between these 4 or 5 different ads. And that's what that one looks like. So at this point, you can see here we've got 4 different campaigns. We've got our general prospecting. If you start to find winners in here, you're going to start to move them into this CBO or this winner scaled horizontal. You can also just start to scale them within that same ad set. A lot of people feel like you have to be super organized and start to move them into these other campaigns, and you can, but if something's working in the prospecting, keep it there and let it do its thing. If you want to start being very scientific and testing something super specific, that's what this ad asset testing is for. Once you find something that's winning, you can pull it into either one of these campaigns. Eventually, you could absolutely get rid of this prospecting one and just start to have your new, very scientific tests in here. But I found that keeping a prospecting campaign isn't a bad thing, because when you want to take a really big swing, or let's say you want to go back to and revisit an old ad that you made a while ago, this is a great spot to do it. The next thing and final thing you can do is more of a specific, very aggressive scaling campaign. So in this case, this is going to be like a bid cap or a very expensive CBO, or just a bid cap across a lot of different ad sets. So this is going to be more aggressive. If I were setting this one up, I would set a cost per result goal of very, very high. And then your budget on top of that is also going to be pretty expensive. What this does is it actually forces Facebook to give more precedence and more inventory to your ads. So this is going to be a bully ad set, for example. So in this case, I've talked about this in some other videos. So we'll go like scaling 2.0. It's going to be a bully campaign. Your cost per result goal should be pretty high. If you want to get purchases at $10, you want to multiply that by at least 2, 3, 4 times. So in that case, if I was wanting $10 purchases, I'm going to quadruple it or even more than that, right? And then with that, you want to set your budget pretty high as well. Now, you got to keep a really close eye on this. You got to make sure it doesn't overspend. And it's going to work differently for different products and offers. But we've seen it work very well when that daily budget is pretty high, at least, right, probably 5 to 6x of what your cost per result goal is. That's what your daily budget is going to be. So that's one way to set it up with a bully campaign. The other way to do it is to take a little bit more of the slower route, and you can just do a general bid cap and a cost per result goal. You can actually input what you want that cost per result to be. So in this case, if I actually want it to be $10, that's fine. But then you'll jack up the budget really like a ton. So you'll say that you want to spend 10 grand a day. Now, since you've got your cost per result where you actually want it, and sometimes maybe even a little bit less, having this budget so high will allow Facebook to actually spend. Because everyone in most cases, if you want a $10 purchase, they're going to be putting $10 in here. So you got to be competitive somewhere. That's where the budget comes in. Same with the bully campaign. Even if you're doing a really high cost per result and a really high budget, Facebook then gives you all the traffic and you're bullying the other people out with this kind of campaign. So I hope that makes sense. This is a very general campaign structure that I like to follow, is having the prospecting, ad asset testing, different winners in a CBO, different winners at the ad set level, and then another kind of scaling campaign through bid caps, etc. Slowly but surely, like I mentioned, you can get rid of this prospecting and maybe replace it with another CBO. This bid cap scaling could be a CBO or non-CBO, and then you may have your retargeting in place. So from there, you're only going to have between 4, maybe 5 campaigns active at any given moment. And sometimes they'll rotate and switch around based on what you're testing, and you can kind of go from there. Now, if you want more resources and more help with your paid ad campaigns, join the Predictable Profits Mastermind. It's a totally free community. You can ask questions. I'll give you ad audits. You can get free resources in the classroom section, and I'll help you and give you direct feedback with your paid ads. You can check that out in the description. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, more paid ads and marketing content, and I'll see you in the next one.